So what we're going to do today is we'll do some studies after Loomis and kind of review what we talked about. Last week, we talked about the anatomy that changes a little bit, the muscle anatomy, specifically around the mouth. Let's see how Loomis applies some of these things.
And before we begin, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my free Insiders Club. Insiders Club members get first access to these weekly live streams, and you also get access to other live events, and you get discounts on courses and programs, along with access to free lessons and other free content available only to subscribers. So all you have to do is go to www.drawwithchris.com, and there you can enter your email and you'll be good to go.
I found this on Pinterest. It's really interesting. These codes here are related to this little chart here at the bottom. I'm just trying to get my my bearings here. And I noticed there's a really nice sort of muzzle rhythm happening here. The nasi labii. There's a row of muscles here. There's a row of muscles here. But it looks like what's happening is these muscles are pulling the lips up. Or at least the mouth up, and the cheeks. Looks like the cheeks are also being pulled in this direction. You see that? So there's something pulling here. And also you can see the eyebrows are raised. He kind of drew a little hint of muscle contraction here. And one is raised higher than the other. The corners aren't raised, but he's clearly smiling. He's got an open mouth smile, sort of. The plane definition is still intact. So remember last week Loomis said that he draws expressions by focusing on tone shapes. So it's kind of what I'm seeing here is that he has the clear side plane as a very simple tone shape. Do you see that? See that little shape right here? It's very simple. And that's allowing him to suggest front and side plane. And it's creating modeling a little bit. It's showing the roundness of this cheek form right here. And also the long, thin, I don't think that's a tendon. It's a fold of skin right here that you often see a lot, especially on older males. That's Loomis again, demonstrating what he, practicing what he preaches, what he talks about. There's some beautiful detail happening here. At this eye, there's 1, 2, 3 lines that are describing, I'm sure they're describing some kind of wrinkle or fold, maybe the lower eyelid. But notice how it wraps around in a perfect circle, and the shape and the angle point the eye and the brow downwards like this. So it kind of gives that this kind of face. And then these marks go like this. Boop, 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 boop. So they kind of they keep going around and around and around. And that's an example of a tone shape. It's a tiny tone shape. This little guy right there. It helps do multiple things. Describe the form. Communicate the expression. I got kind of lost with the hair. This little dark shape's important. It helps to communicate the head, the cranium, and the form of the hat. And the ear is not too important in this case. And I think that's a good stopping point here. I don't need to draw the rest of the hat. And let me clean up my drawing here so we can see what's going on. So what are the important tone shapes? Looks like we have this tone shape on the side of the nose. That one sticks out for me. The shape of the mouth, that's a tone shape. So there's an interesting thing about this mouth. It is slightly curved upwards. It comes down and then it slightly curves upwards. So for that open mouth look, that's how we accomplish that open mouth smile. And then the lips bring the mouth up even more. So it looks like the mouth is wide open, which it is. So drawing the lips a little bit higher helps out with that. The eyes at the right angle. Little tone shape there. This brow. Even the tongue has tone in it. The lips, lower lip has an interesting, that is so cool. The moment I called out the top plane of the lower lip, you see how the mouth starts to round out, feel volumetric. And let's see. This tone shape on the side. The cast shadow defining the chin. And this one is really important right here. Defining that muscle that we talked about, the nasal labii. This little nugget of hair. And then this subtle halftone shape that separates the plane. Small halftone shapes that draws anatomy, separates the plane. This whole thing right here is all plane separation. And let's see. I think that's about it, really. So you can see that this under part of the mouth, it's a little halftone shape, but we need it to draw the mouth, or the form of the mouth, and also the expression. It'll show the where the corners of the mouth are at the mouth form. Let's get this in here real quick. So you can see it's very graphic, which is what you expect from the American illustrative lineage. They draw this way, and all of the things that we need are really emphasized by these shapes, especially around the mouth, and this one in particular. And there's even more that kind of left out a little bit. These little lines right here, they all kind of draw the mouth this way. Everything's drawing this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, towards the keystone, the center of the eye. So it's pulling up, 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 up and in, up and in, up and in. And that's exactly what he's trying to reinforce with these little tone shapes, as he calls it. Okay, let's see if we can get another one. So what do we have here? This is a subtle expression. The mouth looks fairly straight. I see the lip curled up a little bit. This is clearly higher or at an angle. She's doing the rock eyebrow. How would you describe this emotion? Comment below. It's not quite condescending. It's sort of skeptical, the word that comes to mind. Like, I see what you're doing. Looking over here. Yep, nope, you're being shady. I see you. That's what it looks like. I see you. I see what you're up to. Can't fool me. So eyebrow raised, attention towards something off screen. Well, of course, it's an attractive female face. You don't want to put too many wrinkles, like our friend here. So what he does have is this interesting chin shape. It's really creating this sort of focused puckery shape, for lack of a better term. He's really drawing the contractions of the chin, or the mouth, right at the chin line right there. Well, she's not smiling, so nothing's raising her mouth, right? But it looks like this is pulling down. Looks like something's pulling downwards. And something's raising her eyebrow, obviously. So that's kind of that is the actions that I'm seeing. So that means when I draw, I know I'm going to kind of emphasize the movement downward, pulling down, down, down around the mouth, and then raising the eyebrow a little bit, and making sure that the eye shape is fairly closed. Got that, that skeptical look. We've all had people look at us like this, maybe our parents or our friends. Okay, let's see what we can do here. It's a beautiful drawing though, jeez. My drawing's a little too smiley. And I think the lips are too wide. I'm going to squeeze them together and make them a bit more frowny. Meaning turn the corners down a little bit, at least on the left side. Oh, that's better. I like that. It turns out better. The eyes are tricky. So much subtlety here. Jeez. I think the mouth is too low or the nose is too short. So this is a proportional drawing thing. I'm just going to move the nose, it's easier. Because the lips, the distance from the nose to the lip communicates the amount of expression and muscle contraction around the lips. So it has to be, okay, so it's much better. I can feel it already. It's much closer to what it needs to be to communicate the expression. Because she's almost doing the a pucker face, almost a kissy face. Not that she's making the kissy face, but the same muscles that make your lips do the kissing shape. That's exactly what's happening here. And that means that this distance will be compressed because the lips are going to come forward. So to make it appear to come forward in front view, we have to compress the distance. Because it's slightly overlapping the philtrum, this little thing below the nose. So still drawing here. I'm basically treating it like a head drawing, trying to have good accuracy and make sure the shapes and alignments are good. So this part is it's always tricky. Let's see there. Okay. I think pretty close. This hair simplification is so pretty. If you look at the hair, he really hasn't drawn any hair at all. He's drawn these big masses of dark, these tone masses, as he calls them. And they're creating the illusion of hair. It's amazing. I just need the hair for the volume of the head. I need to see the whole head so I can draw the face better. What I'm really trying to do is get back to the face. Let me just do this as quickly as I can here. And this cast shadow under the neck's important. Okay, here we go. Let's see. So, what do we got here? Let's start with the eye. That's pretty important. How is my eye? Something's don't feel right about my eye. How do they think about it? It might be too exaggerated, a little too cartoony. Okay, yeah, it's just this shape right there. Okay, it's fine now. Better now. Okay, it was this shape wasn't long enough. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So the shape of this eye opening's really going to make or break this drawing. As long as I keep pulling this way, making sure that it feels like some muscle is pulling the eye this way to the outside of the face, and some muscles is some force is pulling the eyebrow up. So when I draw, I go this way. I go this way around the eye. And then when I get to the top, the upper eyelid and the brow, then I make my marks this way and up in this direction. And then there's a little tiny accent that Loomis put right there. You guys see that? There's a little tiny accent right there. What that does is it communicates some kind of action, contraction of a muscle, something's happening there. So that's enough to give a subtle hint that something's happening there, which is helping to drive the eye up and communicate the expression. So it's a subtle detail that does a couple of purposes, both anatomy and form and naturalism, and also emotion and expression. So that's a real good thing to take away from this. I'm going to steal that for sure. I think this is the first time I've sat down and studied one of Loomis's drawings. They're quite exquisite. I'm learning very little tips and tricks, just like that little brow thing. Little ways to, how he does things. How he designs little shapes to communicate things. That's exactly how we want to draw. Let me get this eye, because this mouth is the star of this drawing, of this expression. Most of the work is being done, well, by the eyebrow and the mouth. So let me get this eyebrow right. Oh, I like that eyebrow. I like that eyebrow in this eye. It's reading quite well. Let's see if I can get this eye to work without screwing it up. I feel like I kind of lost this eye over here. Bring it back somehow. Let's get this mouth to work. There's a subtle dark accent where the lips meet. That is really, really cool. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but it's in the original drawing. this guy right here, or this tone shape right here, the underside of the lower lip. And this is really, really cool. I'm seeing him suggest anatomy. It's just so cool and so efficient. He's doing it with marks and the right value, obviously. Also the direction of his marks. He's doing a lot of suggestion with very little drawing. And that is very cool. And that's really, really important if you're doing this subject matter. If you're doing, a flattering illustrative piece where you need to make a more of a flawless look. If you're doing like a young, beautiful female or flawless look. You just can't draw lines and wrinkles, really. That's the bottom line. So you have to do your best to suggest. And he's doing that right here with this. Let's talk about this. This is important. So right now, under the mouth, let me draw a side view real quick. So, we have the face. It's an egg, right? We have the eyes. We have the muzzle, right? The chin comes out a little bit. So right now, and then the lips are like this. Right now, these muscles here that we know, this one, that is a muscle group too. That's the nasolabii. Actually, it goes this way. Sorry. But this group is the big muscle around this is called orbicularis oris, which just basically means round mouth muscle. And the what's happening is they are contracting this way. And when you contract this way, you get the kissy face. That's what makes your lips do the kissy shape when you want to kiss something. So these muscles are squeezing together. And what's happening is then there's a unique contraction happening here. Because under here, I think there's also a muscle here too. I forgot what it's called. Mentalis, I think. No, I think mentalis pulls your mouth down. Anyway, I'm not exactly sure. There is a muscle here. But what's happening is there's a muscle, and then there's the tissue and the hard bone of the jaw, of the chin. Because the chin is a hard form, doesn't have, the mouth muscle doesn't wrap around the chin. So there's a nice clear division right here, clear border between them. And that's what he's doing. He's basically doing this. And this is really cool. So he's drawing a ball, right? And for him to make the ball work, what he's doing is putting a little bit of tone, not there. Instead of drawing a little bit of tone there, what he's doing is putting the tone right underneath the ball. And then, because if you put tone here and tone here, she'll look old, or the face will look old. And if they're not old, you don't want to do that. If you want to flatter them, you definitely don't want to do that, right? So what he does is he does this. He actually cuts into the shape like this. You guys see that? Then he cuts into the shape. And now this shape is going to subtly draw the rest of the circle. I'm going to draw over this. So what this is doing is subtly doing this. That is absolutely brilliant. Because it's being done with a tone shape. So that is very, very cool. This little tone shape is suggesting that, and then he reinforces it with a little bit of tone here. So he's saying, okay, so this is a little bit of tone. That means it's an underplane or a side plane or plane not facing the light. And that's how I am going to draw or imply or suggest. He's basically suggesting a wrinkle, because what he's doing is this. You see, remember, on this older male, we can draw wrinkles, so we can draw as many lines as we want, and it looks cool. So on this subject, you have to be a bit more careful and design. And it's also really selling the subtlety of the emotion, because the treatment of the drawing is more subtle. Now the emotion feels more subtle. Just the whole drawing feels more like a subtle thing, a subtle expression, a subtle communication. And that's adding to the emotional read. That's adding to the emotion. So that is very cool. That is something that I am going to steal for sure, that we should all practice, is being able to suggest form with very few lines. Now, you know, Loomis is an expert at that. You can study his drawings and apply that to your own work. And we'll talk about mouths as well in other videos. Mouth is so important. The shape of her jaw is a bit more square than my drawing. This is some brilliant stuff here. The way he's drawing hair with shape is absolutely stunning. Even these hair shapes too are kind of adding to the emotion. The marks are going in this direction. Get this side plane of the brow here. Forehead, side plane of the forehead. Even this little light shape is drawing too. He's drawing the cheek with this little light shape and this subtle light halftone next to it. He's drawing the sphere. Notice how he leaves this area white, or the paper. You see no marks there? If there are, they're very subtle marks that we can't see. See how that's creating a ball? Because that's the highlight of the ball. And then this is the shadow tone of the ball. So that is, again, another brilliant example of suggestion of detail and designing of detail to communicate something. The keystone here. And let's see. So I'm going to get the pencil here. I'm going to start to suggest the eyelash detail, and I think that'll be a good stopping point here. And I'm only drawing the eyelashes because it kind of adds to the expression a little bit. These sharp kind of marks, these eyelash marks, they kind of, they kind of make you look in this direction because they're short. They give you that short kind of feeling, that tension. It's a little bit of tension, a little bit of drama. So I want that. This feels like a very dramatic, tension-filled moment in time. This face feels like it's a moment in time, and it's really tense between two people. One person is clearly skeptical of the other. So who knows where that could lead. Let me refine this mouth shape. This mouth shape has a bit more of a curve to it. I think it does help. It does, yes. See that little curve I just made? That little curve helps to tilt the lip down. And again, it helps to also curve the ball of the face. So, wow, that was a super subtle change. That's amazing. That is amazing to me. Every time I do these little master copies, I learn so much every time. I feel like I can draw better mouths now after looking at this. I made the cheekbones too wide. I get to fix the face shape. And let me fill this tone. You see the forehead? You see how the forehead, there's a little area with no tone that is suggesting highlight. That is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It suggests, and it's communicating a ball form, an egg form. So it does so many things. And sorry, one more touch here. Let me unify these darks. Wow, that is so cool. All I'm doing now is I'm unifying the darks. So remember that little tone shape that we just examined right here? I'm unifying it with the other dark halftone shape at the core shadow of the chin. And you can see he does it here very subtly and gracefully. You see that passage right here? that little passage. That is not easy to do. Holy cow. That is a skillful passage. This guy could draw. Jeez. I really have way more respect for Loomis now after today. I was like, wow, this guy's really good. Jeez. He's just so known. Everyone, when you think of Loomis, you think of his books, you think of his writing, you think of his teaching. Dang, this guy could draw. He could draw it as good as any head drawing person from his era. And let's see, bring some of this tone. Trying to think, some of the tones need to go a little bit darker. But I got to be careful here because the darker I make some of these tones, what it's communicating is deeper wrinkles, right? Deeper wrinkles, deeper folds. So I got to be very careful with the value. I want it to have the contrast that Loomis has, but I also want to be mindful that the values will communicate form, and also will start to feel like a wrinkle if I'm not careful, a wrinkle in your face. So we've got to be very, very careful and aware of what the heck I'm doing here. I think that's a good stopping point there. All right, that's a good stopping point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post these pages from Loomis's book in the Discord. And then any of you who are working on your expressions, you can give this a try and try to copy the Loomis. You can also review the video from last week. I don't think I have I'll post a link as well today. And then you can try copying Loomis here. When you do, make sure you don't copy just for the sake of copying. You want to you have to think. Every mark you make, you kind of have to think about it, as you saw here, because Loomis, as you saw here, was quite thoughtful. Everything has a very specific purposes or multiple purposes, besides just being a nice tone or a nice mark or a nice core shadow. Everything, this drawing in particular, communicates something very, very necessary for the drawing to succeed. So that's something to keep in mind. And when you copy, you will, with that intention, you will start to bring that into your work, and that's the goal. You want to bring these good habits and good techniques into your own work, and that's how we start here. So thank you so much for joining me here. Let me take a look at your comments in a minute. Wow, this is so inspiring. It reminds me of why I started drawing is for this reason, because you can do so many cool things with so little. I really like this philosophy. It's a very fun game. You're almost in a way, you're playing a game with the audience. It is an optical illusion, what you're creating. It's an optical illusion. You're arranging patterns of shapes and value in a way that comes together, that looks like a three-dimensional face, but that's not even close to what it is in reality, right? In reality, it's just a bunch of marks on a piece of paper. That to me is so fascinating. And drawing this reminds me of my early days in drawing, where all I did was I would go to bookstores and copy books. You know, because I'm a bit older, so I was born before the internet. And when I wanted art information, all I had was bookstores. I don't know if there's still bookstores in the world. I think so. There's one where I am. But there are these stores that had physical books. I don't know if you younger folks watching this ever been in one, but there were stores with physical books, and they had art section. So I would sit in there and I would copy the hell out of whatever art book was in there. Sometimes it was Bern Hogarth was really popular at the time, so I spent a lot of time copying Bern Hogarth drawings. It paid off, in my opinion. It really paid off. I don't appreciate it until now, how important that part of my life was. Just sitting at these coffee shops, copying how to draw books. Marvel, how to draw the Marvel way. That was one of my Bibles. I copied the hell out of that book. Copy, 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 copy. Okay. I think that's a good stopping point here.